Friends, how are you doing? I want to talk about two subjects here that I think fundamentally could revolutionize something happening here in just our country. The big one, obviously, is Intel, but two with that is chips. Chips. So, right now, I'm not trying to get political whatsoever, so if somebody's in here like, Trump, that's okay. Calm down. I'm not trying to say anything here. Okay, good, bad. I'm just talking about business. What's going on here? Stock market. Us as investors. If you're an investor, what are you trying to do? You're trying to make money off the market. Okay, so let's talk about that. So right now, this conversation has been. This isn't like new. Some of this isn't new. Intel's been talking about, there's been a lot of talk about Intel the past 2 years. Like there was a moment there where we thought Intel was going like under. But now the situation has quite changed here where Trump is talking about backing Intel and obviously with chips and stuff, because the chip thing is still like this huge situation that's going on. And obviously we're hoping that we're going to be making chips here that's already being pushed, that, they're broke foundation. They're pushing it, factories. But Intel, I mean, this is really, groundbreaking. I want to watch a video here just to like put more of this out here so it's not just me making up something here, but this is being talked about. Even Trump said this. I think he said this yesterday actually in just a random conversation, talking about the government putting money into Intel, which is crazy. I mean, this would change everything. So that alone would probably just push up Intel stock to insane numbers, just because people, well, how much would the government put into Intel, and how long would this be? This situation, this partnership essentially. So when things partnership, we're just going to use that word, with the government in general, and we've already seen Intel jumped up here yesterday just off what Trump said. It jumped up, from $20 to $25. It's just like when a company gets a contract with the United States government, it always turns heads because the contracts are usually pretty decent. They go on for many years. They're usually more than 6 months to a year. They last for a while. And two, if they keep doing well, then the contract just keeps going, and it's just this recurring vending machine that keeps happening here with the company. So this is a huge situation that could be unfolding here with Intel, the United States government, investors like just pouring money into Intel. It's a really big situation that could get very just stupid here in all the right ways. Listen, I love the right stupid situation in the market here where you just look at things and go like, God almighty, what is going on over here? Man, I would be very, very cautious to walk away from this. If somebody's going like, well, I don't want anything to do with the government, what's going on with this whole, that whole story. Whatever. That's fine. Whatever. I, as an investor, I am going to look for money. I am going to push into, I fundamentally believe if I could teach a class, that would be the number one rule. That would be chapter 1 of the class. Be like, you as an investor in the market, what is your part in this? What is your due diligence? Look for money. You would not believe how many people buy stocks that they know nothing about. They don't know what the company's making, what's going on. They're just like, this sounds cool, I'll invest in this, or it's a really cheap stock, I'll invest in it. There's plenty of crap you can put your money into in the market, and some things, they'll just remain the same price, but we're looking for things to really push up in valuation, stock share price, all that kind of stuff. Intel right now, fundamentally, if looking at this very early stage of this partnership that sounds like it's going to be happening here, this could get, Intel could double in price here before we know it, just off, assumption that's something really big is coming deal wise. So, I talked about this a lot more with Palantir and Big Bear, but when Trump passed that big bill, a lot of that bill, like 1/3 of it, 1/4 of it, however you want to break it up here, $1 trillion essentially of it was for, and is to be used for AI, defense, all that kind of stuff. So we here in the United States, what is the number one conversation we heard about last year that has bled into this year, that has gone into, just this whole conversation of us here in America? We don't make chips here. We need chips. Imagine if we made chips here, good chips that we make. It would change everything. So Intel, okay, here we go. Here's a company that could fundamentally do this. It's already there, set up. All we got to do is put more money into it. That's what the government's thinking. Okay, holy smokes. Now, I'm not saying Intel is going to be the next NVIDIA, for God's sakes, but what I am saying, Intel would be kind of just like the manufacturer of what would be happening here from what we're kind of getting, at this point. So, I think this, people ask me, because I've had comments about this already, what do I think could happen here? I think a lot could happen here. Like I said, about this big bill that Trump passed here, this money is being spread out slowly. There's been delays in it. I don't know why. I don't know if Trump is waiting to see if he can wrap up this situation with Ukraine and Russia. I don't know, before he really starts putting money other places. I don't know. But there's going to come a time and a moment here where that money is going to get spent on things. It's going to be spent on things. So let's watch this video real fast and just kind of dig into this and, more in this conversation.
Intel has had a huge week. The president meeting with the Intel CEO at the White House earlier this week. The president had, of course, called for his resignation, but now the government is reportedly looking to take a stake in the chip maker. Christina Partsinevelos has more in today's Tech Check. What are you learning, Christina?
Well, Contessa, talk of a U.S. government taking an equity stake in Intel sounds dramatic, no doubt. But for investors, it doesn't solve the company's core issue, which is catching up in advanced chip manufacturing. In July, Lip-Bu Tan told employees Intel's advanced manufacturing would only move forward with, quote, confirmed customer commitments and, quote, no more blank checks. It was a direct signal to Washington. Without outside orders, Intel wouldn't build. That message landed after Tan also met with President Trump just this past Monday, and after Trump called for Tan to resign just last week. So clearly a lot can change in a week. Intel, though, has already received billions of dollars in CHIPS Act funding under Biden. Now Trump is considering more support in the form of an equity stake, potentially even funding that stake through the existing CHIPS Act money. But Intel, unfortunately, still lags TSMC, to a degree Samsung, in producing the most cutting-edge chips that power AI. Wedbush highlights key concerns. Federal investment won't improve Intel's fab capabilities in the near term. What strings are attached? Will shareholders face dilution? Federal cash doesn't change the fact that Intel needs both the technology and the customers to fill those fabs profitably. For the market, this may provide short-term support on political headlines, as you can see with the stock today, just up, over 6.5%, and maybe a win for Trump in a swing state, Ohio, where Intel is building those plants, and there have been some delays. But without a fix to its manufacturing gap, the long-term upside remains limited. Washington's money may boost sentiment, but it won't fix the fundamental problem at Intel. Contessa?
Are there solutions on the horizon?
Aside from capital influx, the solution for Lip-Bu Tan was possibly to close down the foundry. That was something that he alluded to, or maybe we're reading between the lines, but he alluded to, working with other foundries if they don't have customers. So he was willing to change things around. And then some people took it as, could Intel become a fabless manufacturing, which means that they wouldn't actually manufacture such chips for other customers? And that's a big move. So there's a lot of avenues. There was rumors about TSMC taking a 51% stake in the foundry business. TSMC denied it. Again, just rumors. But something needs to change because this foundry business is really having a tough go.
It sounds like it boils down to a question of, would fabless be fabulous?
You sound like Brian Sullivan with that.
I know. I was just.
So, the thing too with this is that obviously that's the main concern. That's what I wanted to say for the video, is that you have AMD, you have NVIDIA. They are eating up so much of the customer basis right now with chips. And this is why they're so far ahead. It's just kind of like the same thing with Tesla almost here in America. Tesla pushed into their industry so much faster in such a thicker rate than EV car makers back then, because there was none, they control the market, essentially, majority of it here. I mean, there's, of course, arguments to that, but you're seeing that in the chip sector with AMD and NVIDIA. Those are the two head honchos. So even if the government does push money into it, there's two kind of ways I see this right now. I see this either as Trump is looking at this as a defense program where he's like, we can take Intel, we can build our own chips, make them how we want to, do what we want with them, and we'll buy them. Knowing how Trump is working right now and what he's doing, I somewhat think maybe that's what he's talking about. Maybe, potentially, okay? Take that for whatever you want. I don't know. Now, the question is, can Intel just live off of government money? How will that advance the revenue with them, the stock price? I don't know. But either way, this is an interesting play, and I don't know what more Trump is going to do with this. Is Intel going to get some mammoth freaking deal here, like the biggest we've ever seen? Because making chips and all that stuff is not cheap whatsoever. So, I don't know. It's a very interesting situation. Listen, like I said, following the money in the market, it's what we do as investors. I'm following money. I'm looking to see what happens here. I believe that obviously if Intel gets some kind of support, big support from the United States government, from Trump, that Intel will probably just off a feeding frenzy push into 30, 35, maybe $40, depending on how sweet and juicy this deal is. And they're building in Ohio with some delays. But I would not turn my back on Intel right now. If you're looking for maybe a swing play into the future, definitely, however long you can sit there and play it, definitely something to look at. But long term, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with this. And the thing too is that, this might be a 4-year play because, Trump puts all this money in Intel. It's crazy too, because Intel is such like a fundamentally like institutional company here. Okay, next election, maybe Democrats take back over. Are they going to keep pushing into this? I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know, So, friends, I wish all of you the best of luck. I really do mean that. I'll be back talking tomorrow. I cannot thank everyone enough for supporting this new Widow Baby channel. And, take care of yourself, friends. Bye, everyone.